I'm an optimist by nature. So when I was going through my career, learning as you do as a young officer and then growing up and progressing through the ranks, I'm looking for the positive in situations. I'm looking for the positive in people. Morning all, how are you?
Morning. Morning.
Good morning. I'm Victor Perton from the Centre for Optimism, and it's a huge welcome to you, Your Excellency, the Governor-General, the Honourable David Hurley, and Your Excellency, Mrs. Linda Hurley. Welcome to Shepparton and to the participants around the world.
Victor, thank you very much. Very kind of you, and lovely part of the world down there in Shepparton. And now we can actually travel there, which is even better. And we're delighted to be able to join you and the students this morning. So thank you.
Fantastic. Well, it's a special welcome to Margaret Hepworth, my co-host, the school communities of Greater Shepparton, the board and members of Future Voices, students, teachers, friends and donors to the Nelson Mandela Youth Leadership Summit, and to its creator. May I do a special call out and welcome to Rashidi Sumaili.
Thank you very much, Victor. And also I'd like to thank you, His Excellency and the Excellency, for accepting our invitation for today. It's an honor to have you today. Thank you very much.
Rashidi, thank you. I had a quick glimpse of your video made after the day, and very encouraging comments from all the young people there. So thank you very much for providing that platform for all those ideas and thoughts to come together.
Thank you.
Thank you, Governor-General. It was most inspiring. It increased fivefold this year with children participating from Denver to Denmark.
Mm.
So may I call Margaret Hepworth to do the acknowledgement of country.
A Womanjeka, everyone, and this is Wurundjeri for welcome. So let's begin with an acknowledgement of country, which seems to be a really appropriate beginning for a webinar that's examining leadership in our country and indeed what we would like to see in our world. The commitment when we make an acknowledgement of country is not only to redressing Indigenous history, yet also speaks to the learning that can come when we open our hearts and minds to welcoming our Indigenous heritage. So let's begin with each and every one of us heeding these words. I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather today. For me, this is Wurundjeri land of the peoples of the Kulin Nation. For you, please sit silently and acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land where you now sit. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here and around us today.
Thank you, Margaret. And now may I present to you, Your Excellencies, the Executive Principal of the Greater Shepparton Secondary College, which has been in existence for a year now and is leading new models of regional leadership in education. May I introduce Genevieve to introduce the school to you.
Your Excellencies, welcome to Greater Shepparton Secondary College. We're a new school made up of 2,300 students from across the regional area of Greater Shepparton. Our shared values were developed with staff, students and the families who chose aspiration, integrity, respect and responsibility to guide our school. This year, we've been working together to build a community. We're proud of what we've been able to achieve so far, and we've developed our schoolhouse system, which allows every student to have a supportive and welcoming environment and relationship with a learning mentor, to belong to a smaller community within a large community. We're looking forward to moving into the new school, which is currently being built, and we thank you very much for sharing your knowledge with our students today.
Genevieve, thank you very much, and delighted to be able to participate in something, I think, in such an early formative stage of the college and its life. So thank you for the opportunity to engage with your students.
Now, Margaret, would you introduce the students to ask their questions?
Yes, absolutely. So here comes the exciting part. And I want to invite you into a space, all of us, into a space of Yindi Yamara. Now that's a Wiradjuri word for respect. It means respect of all things, for others, for yourself, and for everything in and on our planet. So slow, gentle, polite, honor, respect. And this is the type of respect which is a keystone for leadership, which we're focusing on now. So I will invite the students from Greater Shepparton Secondary School to ask their excellencies questions which they have posed themselves. And this will help us all learn more about motivation, inspiration, and good leadership in this wonderful country. So Rowan Farron in Year 10, can I invite you to ask the first question? Thanks.
Good morning, Your Excellencies. The first question is for His Excellency Governor General. What was the key step in ascending to your position?
Thank you very much. Yes, it's a funny story in a sense, I suppose, because you don't apply to be the Governor General. There is no application process. You don't nominate yourself. People don't nominate you formally. So in a constitutional monarchy where the Governor General represents the Queen but has all the powers of the Queen in our country, the decision as to who becomes or who is nominated or named goes forward to the Queen is the Prime Minister's. So the Prime Minister of the day, when a decision is required, will obviously canvass people, suggesting names, asking who might be appropriate, and developing a list of possible appointees. The Prime Minister will narrow that list down, I think, in discussion, informal, not formal, and will eventually arrive at a decision. In my case, the first I knew about that I was being considered to be the Governor General was when I received a phone call on a Thursday in late November, early December 2018 from the Prime Minister's office, where they said the Prime Minister would like to have a private meeting with you early tomorrow morning in Sydney. I said, yes, I'm happy to meet the Prime Minister. I was very uncertain as to what it would be about. I was the Governor of New South Wales at the time. And the next morning, the Prime Minister, Mr. Morrison, walked into my office, sat down and said, hey, David, I'd like you to be the next Governor General of Australia. It's the first I knew about it. I said, as you can imagine, taken aback. I said, I need to talk to my wife. It affects her life, and we need to talk to our children. And after we had those discussions, I went back to the Prime Minister and said, yes, it'd be a great honour to be appointed the next Governor General of our country. So that's the process. So, I mean, there's no active step you take to position yourself to do that. This is not like a career plan you can put together and say, I'm going to become the Governor General. There's no sort of prescriptive or prescribed steps you must go through. So it really is the Prime Minister canvassing, thinking who's out there, prominent people in Australia who would be suitable for the appointment. So I think the only thing I can say to you, Rowan, is be ready for the phone call. It could be you.
Thank you, Your Excellencies.
That's great. That's quite extraordinary. I guess it's telling us that how you lead your life is seen and recognised by other people. I'd like to ask Caitlin Glasson from Year 11 to come and ask your question, Caitlin.
Good morning, Your Excellencies. My question is for the Governor General. What were you like when you were our age, around 15? And at that age, what did you want to do for a career?
Caitlin, thank you very much. It's very hard for me to think back that so many years. At 15, I grew up in Wollongong, Port Kembla in New South Wales. I come from a fairly ordinary background. My dad worked in the steelworks there. My mum was a shop assistant. Went to local public school. So at 15, I was in high school, Port Kembla High School, doing my studies. I was a very good student, I must admit. I was the dux of my school every year for about 6 years or so until my final year, and I think I got a bit lazy. But no, there was a much better student than me. A girl, which is telling of the future. So I was studious, I read a lot, but I played a lot of sport as well. Went down to the beach. We have beautiful beaches on the south coast of New South Wales there. And so mine was a normal, average life. School, sport, surf, you know, hang around with friends, go to the movies, those sorts of things. But I was a voracious reader. I read so much. I would go to the library and come back with a, you know, half a dozen or whatever your maximum number of books you're allowed to have. That's what I would bring home. And I'd turn those around in a week and go back again. And at that age, probably not too focused on a career, but from a very early age, I was interested in archaeology. And over time, I wanted to become an archaeologist. So my aim when I left high school was actually to go to university, to Sydney University, and discover and study archaeology. That didn't happen, as you can see from my background, because, like I said, I come from a fairly average family, and in those days, university support wasn't great, and I didn't think I could put myself through university, so I joined the army really to get a degree. But I found as the more time I spent in the army, the more I became attuned to it and liked the style of work and the people I met. So archaeologists dig a lot of holes, and I can assure you in the army, I dug a lot of holes, but I never found anything exciting in them.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is certainly telling us all, like as you're sitting there in your classrooms, you just don't know what you will become further down the track. I'm going to invite Sophie Wollstonecroft from Year 10 to come and ask your question. Sophie, perhaps you could ask your question to both the Governor-General and Mrs. Hurley.
Good morning, Your Excellencies. My question is, what gave you the motivation and skills to rise in your career and in life?
Sophie, thank you. And I will say what I'm going to say now, not because I'm dealing with the Centre for Optimism, of Optimism, but to be quite truthful, I've saying in many of my speeches as Governor-General and as Governor of New South Wales, that I'm an optimist by nature. So when I was going through my career, learning as you do as a young officer and then growing up and progressing through the ranks, I'm looking for the positive in situations. I'm looking for the positive in people. I'm looking in the model we use in the military to look at issues after they've occurred and how to examine and go further. We say, we don't blame people. We don't point the finger. We say, what do we have to sustain to allow us to continue to perform like this? And how do you do that? And what do we have to improve? So you're always looking for a positive outcome, building people up. What do you have to do rather than you didn't do something? What do you have to do, and how are we going to build that into your program or into our unit program to be able to do this? So I'm an optimist, and I've been saying that in a number of speeches over the last 8 to 9 months. We have been through a very difficult period in our country: drought, bushfires, pandemic. Any one of those three would be difficult for people and for our country. All three has been extremely difficult. But this is not the time to be sitting back wringing our hands and saying, aren't we an unlucky lot? This is the time to say, wow, look at the resources we have in our country, particularly our people, and how are we going to take advantage of what's happening to us? And how do we move forward in this? Yes, we'll have unemployment in specific age groups and employment areas. How do we resolve those problems? How do we engender optimism for the future? So I'm very much in that space, and that's what sort of motivated me in my career. I was fortunate. I was posted to a number of great postings. We've lived in United Kingdom, we've lived in West Germany in the old Cold War days, we've lived in Malaysia, we've lived in the United States, we've lived in Australia from Darwin all the way around to Geelong, around the East Coast. We have been blessed by meeting so many good people. So all those sorts of inputs into your life, if you look at them positively, you take them in, you absorb them, and you get on with it. And that's how I've approached learning, both being motivated and learning my job. Linda might.
Okay, I was a school teacher, and I wanted to be a school teacher from when I was about 5 years old, I think. I used to play schools with the next door neighbours, and we had our own little classrooms, and I didn't really ever think of doing anything else. I loved school, and when I finished in high school, I grew up in Sydney, and I went to a country town in New South Wales called Wagga Wagga, and I went there for some adventure. And everyone laughs when I say that, but adventure I had, because I experienced the life of a country people experience, because I shared a house with other women who all came from the country. So I finished my teaching degree, and then I was posted to Sydney, and I had a great year there, and then I met David. So I still wanted to be a teacher. Unfortunately, we moved to Queensland, and I was able to keep teaching. But then when we came back to New South Wales, I couldn't get a teaching job because there were too many teachers. So I had to rethink, and I did a secretarial course and worked. I had several different jobs. We kept moving. We've lived in 30 houses. So my career has been very varied, but I was prepared to, David was the breadwinner, so to speak, and it was his career, which I was happy for him to pursue. So I did a variety of jobs. I ended up working in public service. And then we lived overseas. And then we started having children. So for many years, I was a full-time mother, which I really enjoyed and loved. But then when my youngest child was 5 years old, I had the motivation of, what am I going to do now? So I decided to go back to university to upgrade my education qualifications, and then I became a teacher, and which is what I always really loved doing in the early days of my career. And then I finished my career as a teacher. I taught in several different schools and places: Darwin, Town School, Brisbane, Sydney, Wagga. And I guess during that stage, I was motivated by the joy of teaching. And I loved seeing students blossom and bloom, and I love seeing their artwork and hearing their stories. So I guess children motivated me. And then I retired from teaching, and when David became the governor, and being a governor's wife and a governor general's wife is really inspirational. And I think the thing that inspires me most now are the people of Australia, because we have amazing people in our country, and they're all out there doing their thing to help others.
That's beautiful. Thank you. A big shout out to the teachers.
Absolutely.
This can change the world. I love the question, what am I going to do now? That's a great question we can all constantly ask ourselves throughout our life. I'm going to invite Ray Hosseini to come and ask your question, Ray.
Your Excellencies, my question is, what is your vision for Australia, and what can we all do to make it happen?
Right, thank you very much. It's a very profound question. I think my start point is that a vision for a country really needs to be built around its people. And one of the things we need to be working on, and this is part of building a vision for a country, is how secure are our citizens? Now, I don't mean that purely in a defence, national security manner, but how secure are our people? Because it's like a chain. The country, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. There's a very old saying. And the country is the same. And therefore, if you relate that to a country, the country is only as strong and only has the most potential as its weakest link. And you can't have its people being its weakest link because of the conditions they find themselves in. So part of my vision for the country is that security in a very general sense of our people. So it is a national security issue. Security of employment. It's their health and their well-being. It's their opportunities for education, advancement, employment, fulfillment. So how do we create in our country that circumstances where our people feel secure in their opportunity to go on, to contribute, to develop, to thrive, to offer back to their country? So part of the vision must be having those secure citizens in that general sense. Then there's the other side of that is internationally. How do we as a country express what we are as Australians to the rest of the world in the way we make decisions, the way we respond to crises, to major international initiatives and so forth. So my vision is to continue to develop that Australian character, the quality of its people, the optimism of its people, their ability to thrive, and then translate that into what Australians demonstrate to the world. And you know, for decades and decades and decades, people look at Australia and say, wow, look what they're doing. And we've got to continue to make, if you really wanted a big vision, make the world say wow about Australia in all the spaces in which we operate.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. That's a wonderful, wonderful vision, and that ability to thrive. When people thrive, they can give so much more back to community and to be a role model to the world. We are cheering you on. I'd like to invite Melissa Buckton from Year 8 to come and ask your question, Melissa.
G'day. My question is to Your Excellency. So, how has your career as an Australian soldier affected how you've handled the role of being Governor General?
Melissa, thank you, and g'day back. I think the main thing that comes out of that is there's some very structured things you can plan. I can develop my strategic plan as Governor General and do all those sort of formal things and understand how I'm going to do the job. That's fine. I think the most important thing, and Linda referred to it, is your ability to get on with people. And soldiering's all about people, and your ability to talk to people, understand, listen, which is really critical. And you meet people in the military from all walks of life, and then you go overseas, you interact with international militaries and other governments. So I think that ability to feel comfortable in situations that other people might be apprehensive about. You know, when I walk into a room and I don't know a soul, it's my ability to, at the end of it, to have met most of them and know them to a degree. And I think Linda is blessed with the same ability and same character. So it's not something you only get from being a soldier, but it's certainly reinforced it. And, you know, public speaking, being with people, being able to identify when to listen and when to make comment, all those sorts of things I think are really important. And to be able to explain things to people in simple terms if that's necessary. So I think those sorts of things have come out of it. There's nothing really highfalutin in that, but it's really about engagement with people, encouraging people, and how to build people, acknowledge their good work. They're really critical factors in this role.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Liz.
Thanks. They're very, very practical suggestions. Beth Gray from Year 10, would you like to come and ask your question?
Good morning, Your Excellencies. My question for you is, how have you changed as a result of COVID, and do you think Australia can become a better place because of this?
Beth, thank you. And again, we might both want to answer, but I think in very practical terms, the impact on the pandemic on both of us doing our work here has been we can't travel. So what we're doing today became our substitute method of reaching out to the Australian public. So in any one year, we would travel very, very extensively across Australia and indeed internationally if required, visiting people at work, not-for-profits, charities, schools and so forth, encouraging, trying to uplift the community, thanking people for the great work they do and so on. So the big change for us was to do that virtually. Thank goodness that borders are now open and we can start travelling again and to reach out to communities. I think there was a time of reflection during the pandemic when we're all stuck at home and you are thinking, what am I not doing that I thought was important before, but not really important? Or what has this given me time to do that I really love doing, but I haven't created time before? So I think those personal insights are important, like reading. As I said before, I was a voracious reader. I read so much official work now that reading for relaxation is something I don't do as much as I would like to do. So those sorts of things played out. But I think for us, it's more rethinking how we engage with the Australian public and how do we take that forward in the future? How do we mix that into our program into the future as an add-on? Do I think Australia can become a better place because of the pandemic? I think one of the things I have seen come out, both the bushfire response and the pandemic response, and again, I've said this in a number of speeches, is I've seen Australians relearn or learn what it means to be a good neighbour. And a neighbour in the sense of being aware of what's happening, not being nosy, but being aware and being prepared to assist. And not necessarily across the back fence, but into the community. I've seen so much more. You know, set aside the fact that people fought over toilet rolls, that's not us. And the Prime Minister said that, and I'm happy to repeat it, that's not us. I told the Queen, that's not us. But what we saw during the bushfires and the pandemic was an enormously big heart in our community. And it's how do we take that forward to ensure that opportunity is evened out in our community, that we create avenues and pathways for people to go forward, that we give our youngsters like you an assurance that you've got a future, and you do have one. And what will that look like? You will carve that out. But for us, the older generation, to help you have that opportunity. So I think in a sense of engendering goodwill to each other, it's been a very, very important period. And getting back to some of those personal feelings, even though we may not have been physically in contact, we reached out to people. And continuing to do that, I think, go back to my point about security of our people. If people feel secure, the social links are strong, being a good neighbour is something important in our lives, then the country improves and becomes stronger.
I had the opportunity to tidy up all our memorabilia.
Very practical.
42 years, and that was quite therapeutic, and now I know where everything is. And it was also, I actually got to know people over the phone. I rang a lot of war widows, and they're amazing women, and really, even though I didn't know what they looked like, I felt that I was getting to know them. And there was also a lady who is a Good Samaritan sister and works in the Northern Territory, and I got to know her over the phone as well. But fortunately, I did get to Alice Springs and I have finally met her. So I did make some friends over the phone, It was also a good opportunity for me to study and read and learn more about the house that we live in here, because it's a very historic house with a lot of stories. So they were two bonuses, but I must say it's been really lovely to get out and about again. I don't miss shaking hands, but I do miss hugging, because sometimes a hug can say more than any words at all. So we're gradually getting back to hugging, and I also had the opportunity to continue singing, which is one of my passions, and my particular church, we were able to have a choir of 6 or 7 people. And that was a real privilege that we were able to continue doing that singing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, where lots of people talk about a new normal, Victor introduced us to the phrase a better normal. So that's what we're striving for. So Isabella O'Dwyer from Year 8, would you come and ask your question? Thanks.
Good morning, Your Excellencies. I would like to ask you, what would you advise young people to do in order to create positive change in our wider communities?
I would advise you to pursue your passions, and I advise you to share ideas with each other, but mainly I think I'd advise you to be as kind and caring as you possibly can, and put other people before yourself, and maybe join an organisation that you can support in some way, or have a cause that you might want to pursue and helping others. But I think one of the most important things is to be kind and caring to each other, and yeah, think of others before yourself. It's not all about you, it's about sharing with others. And I find when you do that, if you help someone or just sit and listen to someone, it's really worthwhile for yourself. Listen to people's stories. If you see someone who does need a helping hand, be there for them. So I'm a real fan of being kind and caring, because I think it not only makes the people that you're being caring to feel good, it also makes you feel good. And if you have special gifts or talents, share them with other people. I mean, I love singing, and I love, being with groups of people and singing. If you sing in a group, it just lifts everyone's spirits. It becomes here. So I'm not sure whether that's the kind of answer you were expecting, but just do your best to, if you see something that's not right, good, make an effort to change it.
I think the personal relationships to stay kind message is really important. I think one of the other things is when you're thinking and looking at issues and you want to create a positive approach to change, you've got to ask yourself why, not why not. And if the starting point is what are the barriers to doing something, then you won't go for it. Your start point is always going to be, what do we want to do and what do we have to do to get there and why are we doing it? Not, oh, that is really difficult and look at all the things that are in the way. Thoughts about what you have to do to overcome that will come later on. But if your start point is, why are we going to do this? It is important. Let's get on and be motivated about it, and we'll address the issues as they go. Don't put the big barrier up front. And as I said at the beginning, I'm an optimist. A lot of people at the moment, or many people at the moment, sitting there wringing their hands. Wringing their hands is only good if you've got soap on it and you're cleaning them so you can go and do something clean. We don't wring hands. We are positive. We engender ideas. We talk to people. We listen to them. And as Linda inferred, your leadership, if you're going to develop positive change, you've got to draw ideas from people. You've got to lead for them, not for you. And you need to then help shape people's ideas to go forward. There's so much out there in terms of resources to help you and so forth. But it really starts with that attitude right up front. We are going to do this, not what is going to prevent us from doing this.
Thank you. That's wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Georgie Waser from Year 11. Can we ask you to come and ask a question?
Good morning. I hope you're doing well. My question is for Her Excellency, Mrs. Hurley. Is there a certain routine you have to follow being the Governor General's partner, or can you make the role your own?
No, there's no set resume. As the Governor General's wife, I don't have to do anything. I could just sit by the pool and play tennis all day if I wanted to. So I'm a volunteer. But when David decided, obviously we discussed it as he said earlier, I wanted to be part of the team, and I feel that I am. We do most things together. I don't do any of the ceremonial or the constitutional things. I get to do all the fun things. And so I have passion of my own, and as you probably know, because you've asked, there's a question about it, is the environment. And the other one, I'm really passionate about singing. So we started with Singing House, and we have a thank you song, which I'll sing to you later. And David often he speaks and I sing. And I write songs about organisations. I think singing is a gift that we give to each other. So that's something that I've been able to pursue here. And also, there's so many amazing organisations. I'm the patron of some of those organisations. So I tried, for example, last Friday afternoon, I had a session with the Shepparton Centre, which is in New South Wales, and they help with hearing difficulties. And they're an amazing organisation. So we were celebrating the graduation of the people who are starting to go on next year. So I also have the opportunity to go and visit groups. A lot of groups involving children. So next week I'm going to the local school here to present the children who are graduating from year 6 and going off to high school. What else do I do?
You do so much. Yeah. Linda's a waste warrior, so she's leading a revolution in how we handle waste at government. She's engaged with the relevant ministers about what we're doing about packaging, over packaging of our goods. But she is very active and really has a 24/7 role of her own, as well as participating in the joint activities we do.
And it's a wonderful opportunity. We just meet so many amazing people, and I keep a diary. So many people I meet in the diary. So you picture the diary. And sometimes I don't even know the names of people, but they share their stories, and it's just such a for me to hear those stories. Sometimes it's a very sad situation, and I know during the fire season last year or early this year, often a hug could say a lot more than any word. But many people shared their experiences, and it's just amazing. Sometimes we come home and read different stories because we always split, so we don't go around together. That way we can cover more ground, so to speak. And sometimes someone might tell me something that perhaps they wouldn't tell David, and vice versa. So the answer is yes, I can sort of pursue my own passions, and I'm also there for ceremonial ceremonies, and like, for example, when Teddy Sheen received a posthumous DSC last week, that was a very grand and very, very special, who we met all the others that know us when they came to Government House. And it's also like the Queen. I've met Hugh Jackman. So there's also great
in that
like
order.
that.
Please note the order: the Queen, then Hugh Jackman.
That was pretty cool. So you do make your own. The partner of a Governor General can make their own agenda, so to speak. And the people here, all the staff are very supportive. They all sing. I think they like it. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much.
That's wonderful. I love it. I love the waste warrior. I was speaking with a lady last night. She's 80 years old and she's a green granny. She is a waste warrior at the age of 80. But my question is, can you introduce us all to Hugh Jackman?
Yeah. He's pretty good. He's a very nice. I don't have that close a connection with him, sorry.
Abby Hill. Abby, would you like to come and ask your question? Thanks. Abby's in year 8.
Good morning, Your Excellencies. My question is for Her Excellency, Mrs. Hurley. You care about environmental issues. How does your position enhance your platform to voice your opinion on topics you're passionate about?
Well, it's a wonderful opportunity. I love visiting recycling plants, so I've had the opportunity to do that, to get new ideas, and just to see how we're going. We've still got a long way to go, but it is happening, and it has to start with the home, really. So we here at Government House, I want this house to be a leading light in the environmental recycling area. I can't control global warming, but I can control the things I purchase, and I can learn where those products that have to go somewhere, like food waste, we're learning here how to recycle, reuse all those things that come into our world. So we now have a series of bins, and it was only last week that we launched this project, and we went around to every area of the staff here, and I think they're all trying very hard. Talking to different councils as we travel around the country and learning about what they're doing, and sometimes it can be really simple things that
and urging them to make some changes.
I have to be very diplomatic. I can't go in and say, look, you have terrible recycling or you're not recycling. But I've also been involved in the Australian Packaging Covenant organisation, which is working on getting clearer labelling on packaging. And I try to encourage people. Actually, I really love it when we get together with other people and say, oh, I do this. And you can recycle pens now. You can recycle toothbrush containers, tubes. And just spreading that news to other people, because every toothpaste container, imagine how many of those we have at landfill, where we can go and recycle them. So I do have the opportunity to learn from others, and also I can share my ideas with them. So it's a fantastic platform. And I hope by the time David finishes as Governor General here, we can really say that we're cracking. And I think you have to share what you know and actually politely say to someone, oh, do you know you could actually recycle that rather than putting it in the rubbish bin? And it's up to you. It's up to your generation to help us get back on track. I've got one question for you. You don't have to answer it now. What do you think the biggest item of landfill that goes to landfill? What product do you think it is? You can go away and think about it.
Probably tyres.
No, it's not tyres. Do you want me to tell you?
Yes. Yes.
Carpet.
Really?
Carpet is landfill.
Carpet takes up the largest percentage of landfill in Australia.
Wow.
We met a man who he was an intellectual, like a scientist. He came out of retirement to go back and do a PhD on that problem.
How to crack that problem.
How to crack that problem. There's a lot of carpets backed with nylon that don't, and plastic. So please be waste warriors. And if, mum and dad aren't buying the right thing in the right container, just quietly say, oh, mum, maybe it'd be better to buy it this way.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is very, very inspiring. And yes, absolutely, we are all doing our bit. And Victor is actually doing his bit right now, because you can see his beautiful bright glasses he's wearing. They actually come from Australia's circular economy. They are recycled. So well done, Victor.
Oh, Victor.
Now, do we have time for one last question? Is that
one last question? And I'll have to go, but that's good.
And we're coming back to Rowan. Rowan Farron, do you want to come back to us?
Hello again, Your Excellencies. This time I have a question for Her Excellency Miss Hurley. Are there any big goals that you hope to achieve in the near to long future?
Yes, I'd like to achieve, I'd like a country of good recyclers and less packaging. And I'd also like to achieve Australia being a singing nation. So many Australians say they can't sing. And I think we went through a generation where when people were chosen for the choir, and I know several men who are now in their 60s who were lined up when they were 6 years old, 7 or 8, with their chests out thinking, pick me, I want to be in the choir, and they're not chosen. And men 60 years later will say to me, I can't sing because when I was in kindergarten, I didn't get chosen in the choir. Now, there's a place for elitist singing. I don't want to go to a dodgy opera where the opera singers can't sing very well. But my passion is that to promote singing as a community thing to do. Get together and sing with people. And you don't have to go to a choir and be auditioned and all those things. There's lots of opportunities to go to choirs that don't have auditions. But singing is intrinsically good for us. There's a lot of research to show that. If you're having a bad day, you burst into song, I guarantee you'll feel better. So I would like to see us, well, David's dream is to go to a rugby game in Wales.
And have the Australian crowd out-sing the Welsh. That's what we're going to do. Now, you're Victorians, you don't understand rugby, so... but just think about this. The Wallaby supporter in the big stadium in Cardiff out-sing the Welsh when we sing songs because we're a singing nation. That's what we'd like to see.
Oh.
And I think the other big goal is to spend time with grandson.
Yes, yeah.
We are grandparents with one grandchild and we don't see him very often, so a big goal for us is to try to get some more time with him.
And I sing to him all the time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellencies.
Thank you. Did you hear the Wallabies singing the national anthem in a First Nations language, only just on the weekend? It was
fantastic.
Yes.
I think we should all learn to do that.
Yes.
We're in Sydney on Australia Day every year when I was the governor. Linda and I would attend a ceremony at about 7:30 in the morning on Bennelong Point, looking over towards the Harbour Bridge. An Indigenous ceremony. I'd speak and other speakers who would be there. There'd be dance and song. And then when the national flag and the Aboriginal flag were raised on Sydney Harbour Bridge, the national anthem was sung first in a language, normally Wiradjuri or something like that, or one of the local Sydney languages, and then in English afterwards. That's been going on for quite a while. And so, and people say, oh, we're not like New Zealand, we don't have one language. I say, that's not the way to look at this. It's how many languages can we translate it into? And if you're in that area, you use that language.
what you do. That's
And so wherever you go, in Brisbane, you'll get a different language to Melbourne, but the principle is sing it in language, then sing it in English. And I think that would be a great outcome.
We were on Elcho Island recently, and there was a group of elderly elders, and they sang a song, and then we went over to sort of join them, and we sang Silent Night in their language.
In your new language.
Oh,
And that was the most, yeah, it gives me goosebumps thinking about it. It was very special.
yeah. And that is beautiful, and we would love to hear more of that. And it's as you say, Governor General, it's all about this attitude. Everything's about this positive attitude and what we can.
We have a solution. We have a solution. We just have to say that's what the solution is.
Thank you.
Mr. and Mrs. Your Excellencies, surround yourself with optimists and we will support you in your campaign.
Thank you very much, Victor.
So you have us as allies. Now, Margaret, I think you're calling on Tom to do the thank you.
We do. We have Tom Sexton, who's the co-chair of Victoria Youth, and he would just like to come and say thank you to you both for this morning.
Your Excellencies, politics can often distort the dynamics of conversation. I'd just like to extend a warm thank you for sharing your views, experience and wisdom. And thank you for showing us that just by having a chat, regardless of people's positions or politics, people are people and we all just want what's best for the community. And I'd also just like to extend this time to take the opportunity. You're more than welcome to come back to Shepparton at any time. Ideally, probably post the COVID era. Feel free to come by. You're welcome all the time. It'd be awesome to have, you know, just a pizza with the youth or something of Shepparton. Be more than welcome. So thank you very much.
Tom, thank you for that. We'll try to get Shepparton into our program. Our first port of call in Victoria will be to Malakuta, one of the bushfire affected communities, which we haven't been able to reach because of the pandemic. That's next week. But next, post-Christmas, we'll be back into the full thing of our visit program, and we'd love to come to that part of the country. Say hello.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well done, Tom.
Tom?
So what do you reckon, Mrs. Hurley? Pizza and singing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, Linda wants to sing a song before she goes, Victor.
Please, yes.
Is that okay?
Yes, can I quickly tell you, my daughter teaches Year 9 students, and they are all singing farewell to their students today.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So this is a little song about sunshine, and I believe that people bring sunshine into each other's lives. Bring sunshine every morning, bring sunshine all day long, bring sunshine with a smile, bring sunshine with a song. Sunshine, come along, sunshine all day long, sunshine a gift to give, with sunshine let's all sing. Spread sunshine every morning, spread sunshine every night. With kindness and patience, our world will be all right. Sunshine, come along, sunshine all day long, sunshine a gift to give, with sunshine let's all live. So thank you for the sunshine you bring.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you both so very much. That was an extremely heartening conversation. We will let you go now. But yeah.
Thank you.
Children, if you all want to wave and throw yourselves around. And
Thank you all. It's been a great session with you, and have a great Christmas, great holidays, and let's get through the pandemic.
Yeah.
Let's keep lifting people up. Let's get the country running smoothly in the direction we want to go.
Kind and caring.
Kind and caring. Stay
Yeah.
calm. Okay. Bye-bye all.
All the work you do. Bye-bye. Bye.
well, we hope you enjoyed that engagement between the Governor-General and Mrs. Hurley and the students of the Greater Shepparton Secondary College as much as we did. It's great thanks to all of you for joining us and co-creating this event. This year, the Nelson Mandela Youth Leadership Summit has been a great inspiration with a 5-fold increase in participation, and it's entrenching itself into the culture of Greater Shepparton, and indeed, as long as we can maintain this hybrid model of physical participation and online, it will become a global event too. With great thanks to Rashidi Sumaili, Margaret Hepworth, and the leadership of the Future Voices and the Centre for Optimism.